Hello again, Year 5. This is Thursday's lesson for literature this week. We're continuing with our SPAG theme, and unfortunately, like I said today, it's going to be a SPAG test. So I thought I'd be kind to you because I'm sort of springing this on you a bit. We're going to do a bit of a, I don't know, I suppose I'm going to prepare you a bit for the test and go through some of the, I've made a PowerPoint with some questions that are similar to the ones that we're going to do. So some example ones of the tricky ones that'll just help you through it, and they'll just help you understand it a little bit more. So here we go. So which verb is created when these suffixes are added to the noun? Write the correct verb for each example. So we've got class and iffy, advert and eyes, assassin and eight. So have a think there, jot them down on a spare bit of paper or in your literacy books, whatever's easiest. So this question is asking you to add a suffix to the noun to create a verb. Write your answers in the 3 boxes to get 1 mark. So you should have had time to think about that now. So you've got classify, advertise and assassinate. We've done a question like this one before, haven't we? Very similar to this one. So it's to do with this skill. You need to be able to convert nouns and adjectives into verbs using suffixes like ate, ify and eyes. So that's an important Year 5 skill. And once you can master it like this, you'll be able to master the other ones, which we'll be doing in the next lot. So let's go. So modal verbs. So we should leave, he whispered. They could come back at any time. So a modal verb usually comes before another verb to show the possibility or certainty of an action happening. So we've looked at something quite similar to this this week, haven't we? By looking at adverbs that link to possibility. So the modal verb tells us how possible something's going to happen. So if you can find the verbs in that, there is 2 modal verbs in that sentence. So if you can find the 2 verbs and see the words before them and see how they indicate possibility. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that if you want to pause the video. So should and could. So our 2 verbs are, I'll just put my pen on very quickly. So we've got leave, to leave is the verb, and to come or to go in some of the, I suppose, of the 2 versions of that word, of that verb. We put should and could before that. If you say we should leave, it means we're leaning towards definitely going, but it's not absolutely certain that we are going to leave. They could come back at any time, so it's like they might come back. They might do, we're not sure yet. So again, we're just recognising that they indicate degrees of possibilities, which we looked at on Tuesday, wasn't it? So we've looked at this, it tells us how likely something is to happen, and it's very simple to do if you look at it like that. Okay. So now I need you to underline the relative clause. We've done loads of work on that in the last half-term starters, haven't we? Should be able to do that really, really easy. So it says we are going to go back to Devon this year, which is where I first learned to surf. Which part is the relative clause? Remember, the relative clause is the bit that adds extra information and doesn't necessarily make sense by itself without the other clause. So it usually has a relative pronoun which has who, which, where, when, whose, and that. Can you find a relative pronoun in this sentence? And that will give you a clue as to where the relative clause is. Okay. So it's there, isn't it? Which is, if I just said, if I crossed that out there, and I just said, which is where I first learned how to surf, you wouldn't know what I was talking about, would I? You'd need the first bit, the first sentence, wouldn't you? You'd need the first sentence, this one here, to make sure that the rest of it makes sense. So it is the bit that's been underlined. Right. And that's this skill is a year 5 skill that involves being able to recognise relative clauses beginning with who, which, where, when, whose and that. So, read this sentence. What type of word is underlined? So, that's the lady that teaches me to play the drums. So, is that a possessive pronoun, a relative pronoun, a personal pronoun? If you want to pause the video here, try and work it out and let me know how you know which one it is by just quickly jotting it down. So I'll give you a couple of seconds just to get on with that if you want to pause the video now. Right, so read the sentence carefully to decide what type of word is underlined. That introduces a clause that is a clause of additional information. So what is it? It is a relative pronoun, isn't it? So we're thinking back to this one, aren't we? We're looking for relative pronouns, and we can see here, I'm not sure what's going on with that line there, we can see here that that is a relative pronoun, isn't it? So again, that's linking to the last year 5 skill that we just looked at, and it's thinking about recognising relative pronouns in sentences. So, the passage below has an error in it. Underline the error and write the correction in the box. This behaviour is unrespectful. So we've looked at a question that's very similar to this before. So, read the sentence carefully to decide which part of the sentence sounds wrong. Read your new sentence you have written to make sure it sounds correct. So, pause the video here, quickly write it out. Write the initial sentence, as in this one first, and then show me how you've changed it. Off you go. So, it should be that behaviour is disrespectful. It's the wrong prefix, isn't it? So, it's used the prefix of un rather than dis, and dis is the correct one. So again, that's another year 5 skill, recognising which is the correct prefix, the short, or the few letters that come at the start of the verb. Right. Read the sentences below. Circle the word which links the sentences together to create cohesion. It's important to follow a recipe when making a cake. Something to make sure that you have the ingredients to hand. So, it's making sentences create cohesion. Remember, we did this yesterday, didn't we? We were thinking about how to make sure that sentences between full stops make proper sense, making sure that it's accurate, making sure that things make sense. So, what is meant by the term cohesion? It means, I've just said that, haven't I? It means that we need to make sure that it essentially means that the sentences together make sense. So, we'll reveal the answer. Oops. So, it's important to it is important to follow a recipe when making a cake. Firstly, to make sure that you have the ingredients to hand. I'm not sure where that D came from there. Scribble that out. So, we put firstly in there, it's making sure that that's the first reason why it's important, isn't it? Again, it's linking the two ideas together, it's making sure that the sentences make sense. So again, it's linking to what we learned yesterday, isn't it? Using adverbials to build cohesion. Right, underline the parentheses in the sentence below. Every morning, I catch the bus, which stops outside the library, to travel to school. So we've looked at parentheses quite a lot last half term, haven't we? So parentheses is a word, phrase or clause that is put in writing as extra information or sort of like an afterthought. If you took the parenthesis away, the passage would still be complete without it. Brackets, dashes or commas can be used to indicate parentheses, so that gives it away a bit, doesn't it? So it's there. We know the bus stops out the library because we've used that, and it's sort of, we put it in brackets, so it's a bit like extra information just to build in that detail in our writing, which is a great feature, and I know a lot of you use that in the astronaut biographies, which are just absolutely fantastic. It was really nice to see. So, next one. So, do the adverbials in the table show type, place, or frequency? Tick one box for each. Now, I know that'll be difficult for you, but if you just want to tell the person that you're doing this with, or just make a mental note down of which one goes where, then that's fine. So, I'll just show you this. Think carefully about what each adverbial is telling you, and I'll give you a couple of seconds just to try and get your ideas together, and then we'll go through the answers and we'll explain why. So, off you go. Right, so tie is in January means time because it's telling me when I'm going to do it. Behind the garage is a place because it's telling me where it's happening. Near Cardiff is also a place because it's telling me where something's happening. And not only that, frequency always is in an adverbial for frequency because it's telling me how often something happens. So if you think of, if it's time, it's when something happens, place is where something happens, and frequency is how often something happens. You should be able to quickly fly through doing things like that, and it will make it very, very easy for you. So, read the sentences below, write how many people went to the shop in the box after each sentence. So, again, write these out, tell me how many they are at the end. If you want to draw the box, that's fine. And I'll give you a couple of seconds just to get on with that very quickly. Right, so I went to the shop with my friends Simon and Terry. Let's have a look. So, read each sentence carefully to understand the meaning. Think carefully about the effect that the comma has on the second sentence. Don't forget to count the I in your totals. So those are all really good tips. So in the first one it says, I went to the shop with my friend Simon and Terry. So my friend, Simon and Terry. So we got 3 people in the first one. I went to the shop with my friend Simon and Terry. The comma is in this one here. Lets me know that there is another person. My friend is a different person to Simon. I've not specified his name. So again, that's a year 5 skill to make sure that meaning has been clarified. The meaning of your sentence is clear. So, number 10. Read the sentence below, circle the word, which indicates the degree of possibility within the sentence. So again, it's thinking back to what we did the other day, isn't it? Indicating degrees of possibility, how possible it is for something to happen by using an adverb. So, degree of possibility means how likely something is to happen or how certain something is. If you are unsure, rule out the words that you are sure it cannot be. So, that's a little bit of a tip there. Probably one to use in your test. So, pause the video here. Have a quick go at trying to find it. Write the sentence out and underline the word using a ruler which indicates the degree of possibility. Right, off you go. So it's this one, isn't it? Samira is definitely a faster runner because it means that without a doubt, Samira is faster than James. So that, again, is looking back to indicating how possible something is using adverbs. So, really easy to do that one. Your test should be in front with you. Get on with it quickly and quietly. If you do need any help with it, do get in touch with me because I'll try and give you a quick call to talk you through it. Or if not, I'm sure Miss Biggs might be able to. But for now, I'll leave it there. So, just to let you get on with it. So, get on with it very, very quickly. And yeah, take care. And I'll speak to you soon.